to order Board of Selectmen's meeting of Wednesday, June 19th, 2019. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody here and read this into the record. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded for use on the internet and our local cable station. Okay, going through the agenda. Approve the board meeting calendar, important dates for the second half of the year. You have a list there, and as always, it's subject to change as some things come up, but this is the schedule. Is there any problems right now with the schedule as written?
Yes. I spoke with David about changing the meeting date of August 14th.
Yeah, and you'd like to change it to what?
I gave you a date.
August 21st.
August 21st.
August 21st. Do we have any problem with that, Anthony?
That should be fine.
It'll be fine, okay.
And I also spoke with them about, it looks like it's already changed, David. I think the other date was the...
Correct. It was in August. It was August 9th.
Okay.
So Selectman Reyes reached out to me, and in the original proposal, our employee appreciation day was scheduled in August. We had done that a couple of years in the past. We didn't get very good turnout. Last year we did in September. It was very good turnout, and Denise caught it. So she recommended that we do it in September. So based on the scheduling, we were going to propose September 20th.
Is that a Friday?
Yes.
September 20th? Okay, what time?
We normally do it at 12.
12.
It's 12 to 12:15.
12, yeah. Okay, other than that, any other changes?
Nope, there's no other changes. The only one item that I wanted to address with the board is Friday, July 5th. I'm looking for support from the board on the following. What I would like to do is send a memo out and notify everybody. I've already received feedback that quite a few people will be out that day. Obviously, they can use personal time, vacation time. That's not an issue. Unfortunately, it may end up where a couple of our offices may be closed that day because we only have 2 people in each one of the offices. It will certainly impact our office as well. So if it's okay with the board, what I'd like to do is send a memo out to all the departments, inform them that because July 4th happens to fall on a Thursday, Friday's a half a day, many people may choose to use personal time or vacation time. If that's the case, then so be it. They're entitled to it. And if that means that their office is going to be closed, that they post it on the website and all of our social media pages as early as possible so that way we can adequately inform the public. Obviously, if somebody's going to be there, then it is what it is.
Okay, so we understand that?
Yep.
Have any problems with that?
Can you ask them to get back to you as soon as possible, David, so that it's not a posting 2 days before?
Oh, no, that's exactly what it would be. I mean, I want to give the public as much notice as possible.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion before I ask for the vote on our schedule? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. So voted. Ratify the coordinator's employment agreement.
Hello. So, So at our June 6th meeting, the Cable Advisory Committee voted 3 in favor and 2 were absent to employ Nathan Mayer as our part-time access coordinator. As you know, our previous one, Jake, left in December to pursue a career with the high school. So Nathan comes from Somerset. He's done volunteer work with Providence Access Station and with East Bridgewater. He came highly recommended for both from East Bridgewater Station. Out of 10 applicants, we narrowed it down to about 2. And then on our May 20th meeting, the board met with Nathan and approved him for a meeting, and then we approved his contract on June 6th.
Okay, you got any questions of Jason? Or?
Any questions for Nathan? No?
No questions. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
There's a motion to require a motion, David, to hire him, or
Please, just
okay.
to ratify the.
to ratify
cable
the
committees. Yep.
contract? Is-
To ratify the contract as
all right.
presented.
Second.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All's in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
quite sure that you'll do a great job for us.
I will.
You'll find out it's a great town.
I will.
Thank you.
wishes
Thank
to
you for
you.
doing that, you know?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, take care now. All right, ratify FY 20 non-union personnel contract amendments.
A motion to approve the conservation agent and the assistant DPW director's amendments.
Second.
Second, any other discussion on this? If there's none, I'll call for the vote. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Open Space and Recreation Committee appointments. Jack Sassas and Nicholas Anderson. Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? As we continue to fill our committees?
No.
Does that fill that Recreation Committee, David, or is that, I don't know?
I don't.
Lana, you don't know? You don't know, okay. Oh, there's two new that want to get on. If there's no question, is there a motion to put them both on?
I make a motion to appoint Jack Sarcia and Nicholas Anderson to the Open Space and Recreation Committee.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous, so voted. Site plan review, variance and special permit zoning board of appeal. Proposed walk-up ATM machine located at 457 West Center Street. That's the location of the, according to what I got in here, is the Honeydew Donuts.
That is correct. So 475
Yeah,
Center Street.
Honeydew Donuts up there, and they want a, and this is, it has to go, through the Board of Appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is not a great location at all. It's already
Yeah,
a pretty
right.
congested intersection with
Mm.
Crescent Street, Lincoln Street, and 106. And I mean, it's a walk-up ATM. There's really no foot traffic there, so people would be driving in and parking.
Yeah.
Ian, Selectman Kenningham, I want to let you know, some of the paperwork in here refers to a drive-up ATM. That was done in error. I've already verified that with the building inspector.
Okay, thank you.
But I agree with Anthony. I think the issue is even if you call it a walk-up or walk-to ATM machine, you still, majority of people going to use it are going
Yeah.
to be parking.
I don't
That
believe we
means-
have sidewalks there.
Doesn't look that way from there, that picture. They're going to, that is really a bad piece on 106. It's very congested, especially in the evening, with the traffic trying to come off the highway
Yeah.
and go down 106.
And then Honeydew's a right turn only. Coming up.
Yeah, that intersection is kind of congested. We tried one time to have no left turn, but that didn't go over the police chief, so it's still that way. That still haunts me. And when we gave that license for Honeydew, we also told them there's no left turn. They have a sign up coming out of their drive. And yeah, you're right. It's congested, but it's like anything else there that. But they requested that, and tell you the truth,
Is there a particular driving factor to this? This just came out of the blue?
Like, I mean, it did come out of the blue. Personally, I reviewed it. I don't even see how it's a good business plan, but they're in business to make money, and I assume they've done their due diligence. But I agree with the sentiment that there is not, their narrative says that they'll be able to better serve pedestrian traffic, but there's no sidewalks. I don't see a lot of pedestrian traffic. Quite frankly, the intersection is so busy, I don't really want a lot of pedestrian traffic there for people's safety. And it's not going to be enclosed. So wind, rain, snow, cold, not exactly sure who's going to use it. But, they have a right to make a proposal. I will tell you they'd have to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals for two items. One is that all ATM machines require a special permit. It's not by right, but for the most part it's granted. They also have to seek a variance because ATMs, and according to our bylaw, cannot be within 35 feet of the road. That is 22 feet of the road, so they have to provide a variance and a special permit. If I'm hearing the board correctly, it sounds like you're probably more not in favor than in favor, and we could certainly encapsulate those thoughts and send them along with the reasons listed.
I'm not in favor of it.
You're not in favor. How do you feel, Anthony?
Same. I mean, I don't think it's the right place to be adding traffic to. There's no traffic signals. I mean, the places at Boston Tavern area, that Dunkin' Donuts work well because there's the traffic light. People can get in and out. This will just make that little intersection even worse. I'll make a motion that we send a recommendation to the zoning board not to approve this because of traffic concerns.
I'll second the motion.
I am too inclined to vote against it because of the location or where it is, and it could be a hindrance for what's already there. Okay, so you're making that motion, and there's a second to it? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I mean, against? You said in favor. You're not in favor,
I'm
right?
in
favor of the
favor of his
motion.
motion.
Oh, you're in favor of his motion? Okay, well, let's get that clear, okay. All right, and it was seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
In favor.
In favor?
Yeah,
Yes.
in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, this is a special lady out there, Carol Ashman, is always interested in West Bridgewater, and I don't know how she wants to take on another assignment. She's really, but I don't think it could get anybody any better to serve that community preservation than Carol. I just feel that are you going to have the time to serve this committee because of all the other activities you're involved in?
Well, I'm retired now from
Oh, I didn't realize that.
First Church, so I don't have.
You don't have all that on you. Okay,
Right.
well, that's all right.
Did you want me to sell myself?
No. Well, you know, most of us know you, Carol. Tell us a little bit about yourself there, and why you want to.
Well, first of all, when I moved here 15 years ago, I'm not a native. I love being able to work and live in the same community.
Mhm.
I can be involved. But not only that, I came from Texas, where my grandchildren comes from, and they don't have town government. And I really miss that. And so I think it's awesome that we can have town meetings and that people, including myself, can participate like you all do. So I think it's awesome. So ever since I've been here in the capacity, mostly as when I was at First Church, I was able to do the things in the middle of the letter. I served on REACH, helped to coordinate that. That was an organization that was started up by the Board of Health years ago when Jerry Lawrence was serving on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I took over the coordination of that. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. I volunteer at the food pantry and also a school on wheels. I just recently started up the summer program for, it's called Summer Lunch 2019, and it's for the reduced and free lunch kids who we didn't serve them in any way as a
Mhm.
town in the summer. So pulled together a lot of the organizations in town to serve these children as best we are able. We do not qualify for state money for these children because you have to have 50% of the school the population at the poverty level, and we only have 25%, which I think is a large amount for a small town. So anyway, so that's good. But I was also able, which was a lot of fun, to be able to serve on. We tried to start up a local historic district several years ago. That did not pass the town meeting, but it was enlightening to me to serve on the committee, to see how state requirements and all that, and then how to stand up at town meeting and try to get something passed. That was it was a lot of fun. And also, I did I like to fight when I see a cause that needs fighting for, and so when we had the sludge issue that was going on in town, I was instrumental in creating the bylaws that got passed for that, to regulate the use of sludge in town. So that's what I like to do. And I'm fully, I think the last part is very important because I am fully retired from the First Church now, so I don't have any conflict of interest in that way. I did learn about being able to serve the church because it is so historic. That was when I first began to learn about the history of West Bridgewater. And I also bought a home, historical home, on River Street, where Paul Revere, his generations lived in that home. So that's kind of fun. And right across the street from the Keith House, which is the first pastor of First Church, served there. So I've got a chance to learn a lot about the town, and would like to be able to serve. I also like the way in which our town is able to, first of all, pass this, the part that we are able to participate in the CPA funds. So that was a good thing. The town passed that. And the way in which we are able to work with state funds, like even with our sidewalks that we're doing, we can get some state money, but then, have to get our own. So I like that. So I'm glad that we can have some money that we can use from the state to use in appropriate ways for town. So.
Very good. You got any questions of Carol?
Sounds qualified to me.
Well, she certainly got my vote. I mean, she's.
Absolutely.
I think she would be very good on that committee. If we don't have any questions of her, do we have a motion to approve her?
I'll make a motion to appoint Carol Ashton to the position at large on the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go get an ice cream.
Oh, okay.
Oh, can we go to? Have a good day.
Yeah,
You
take
too.
care.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is approve the meeting minutes of May 15th, 2019.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Accept the meeting minutes of June 5th, 2019. Is a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Award a bid to the kennel boarding services.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Act on non-union, non-contract employers' compensations. Rate for FY20.
So we do this every single year. What we do is we give most of them the same increases as we do to the clerical union. The only exception on this sheet is your seal of weights and measures, David Moore. It went up a couple $100, and the reason being is because now that we have had the bylaw rescinded, I'm going to come back to you and we're going to make some adjustments to the weights and measures of the fees, and therefore he will cover the service, and that's why it's $55.05, which is what it used to be. And then Ed Saro, most department heads had received a 3%, so during the budget process, you approved his budget with a 3%. Everything else on there is at 2.5% year over year. And I'm sorry, the other one exception is Walter Thayer. Walter Thayer has remained flat year over year, and that was after my discussion with him. He didn't ask for any increase, nor was he looking for one.
Okay, any questions? If there's none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Award water and sewer treatment chemicals contract of FY20.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communication reports from boards and commissions, town officials. Any comments? Right now, I do have a couple of things that I will hand over. One of the things I talked to the Mass Highway at the meeting of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, Robert Wheeler, he says, I want to know what we can do to get that project going up on Matfield Street as far as looking in for a traffic light up there, which is badly needed. And he said we should fill out a project need form. And so I don't know if that's it. So that's one thing. Any questions about that? The other thing I have in here, Bob Moran from the National Grid has been very, very helpful. As you can see here, looks like the sun there. This is the glare of the lights that were moved up there. And himself and I, we went out 9 o'clock one night, and we had to conclude. He did put a pole across there with a drive-in restaurant there, and as you notice, and that's the glare coming from that. But I was complaining about the glare there at the lights that they moved. So what they're going to do is they're going to take the furthest pole north and put it on the sub-pole on the Copeland Street side. There were 10,000 watt there. Of course, the town, pays electricity, and, it costs some money to light the town up. So he suggested we're using a 400 watt over on Main Street, but the other one to be 100 watt, and that will be on the sub-pole. And this is a copy of you, just keep as your records there. And he said a week ago that this will be done within 2 or 3 weeks. So I just want to thank, Bob for being that. He come in his own time. Because this is not really his territory, but his being on the Old Colony Planning Council, he's very, very helpful to me and to the town. And when we ask him, he steps right in to help us. So does anybody have any board members have any? Is there a report on the light down there? I know, Denise, you were working on that on 106. There was any?
So the latest update is that it will be done before the 4th of July, but they're working diligently to get it done next week, barring any inclement weather.
Okay.
And while it sounds like just another extension, I have to say at one point, and I don't think I came out and said this because I was hoping it would change, and it did, was that they were looking at actually moving the pole at the end of June. So considering we have the pole moved, the wires are all reconfigured, it's just down to the milling, repaving, painting the lines, and then flipping the switch to have the lights working. So the plan is next week.
Okay.
Get that done.
Okay. Anything else you would like to bring up before the board here? Or? Anthony, you have anything?
Good.
Public?
Hi.
Yeah, you always have a comment there. Are we doing a good job or what?
I just want
are
to
we
say,
trying?
When the Enterprise printed that article about you, they only said one side of the story. They didn't get your side of the story.
I know. I didn't even want to get into that thing. It's
I know,
it's
I'm
almost
sorry,
it.
You've been doing a lot for this town your whole life, and you deserve to be where you are. You don't deserve to be treated like that.
I know, but I just look at what happened to Larry Hasgrave this week. That there's a news reported again, just on one side of the news, and they don't have all the details, and it's typical. But with my suggestion of my lawyer to stay silent, it says, because the only thing is, he says no matter what you say or anything else, they just twist and turn and do anything they want there, and I'm not too happy. I just recommended to my wife, if I die, I don't want them to put my obituary in the Enterprise. Believe me. No, because I don't go for treatment like that. Because and it's so unfair. And when I see it on Facebook and people that don't even know the other side, and they're criticizing me beyond the call. It's certainly unfair. It really doesn't have anything to do with the town of West Bridgewater. I'm up working my fanny out and I try to do the best I can for the people, and I'll continue as long as I'm here to do what I can for this town.
You do.
But thank you anyhow for your concern, and I know that I see. I have the tweets on Facebook. There was 146. I have every single one of them, and as I meet these people, I just going to let them know. You know, get the whole story. Don't criticize me on what you hear. Use the facts.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, anyhow, whatever. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comments?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay, I'll move to the town administrator's report.
Yep, so first is the Disabled American Veterans fundraising dates. They do this every single year. They technically really do not need Board of Selectmen approval because they're not doing it on Board of Selectmen, Town of West Bridgewater land. They normally go to private enterprises such as Market Basket, but just an FYI to the board that it's September 20th and 21st. They will be in town. If you want to take a vote to authorize them, you're more than welcome to do so. They ask for it. There's no harm in doing it, but that's what they ask for on an annual basis.
All right, is there a motion to that effect then? Or
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Good organization, they do this every year.
Thank you. The next on
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so voted.
Next on the agenda is the DEP lawsuit settlement on Pleasant Street. It was referred to just a minute ago. Here's the newspaper article that quite frankly brought it to my attention in a conversation with each one of the selectmen as well. Real quickly, the history is that our Conservation Commission provided an order of conditions, and part of the permitting process is to delineate where the wetland areas are. Shortly after the Conservation Commission determined where the wetland lines were, there was an anonymous appeal to the DEP. To this date, we still do not know who contacted DEP. DEP came out and they took a look at the wetland lines, and through negotiations with Mr. Hargreaves over the last 3 years, they have redrawn the wetland lines. During that process, there is concrete that was dumped on the property. The concrete was not something that the Conservation Commission looked at or reviewed. It wasn't just not something that they needed to look at. Turns out the DEP took some of the concrete, tested it. They state that there is traces of asbestos in it, and as a result, I've now fined him up to $250,000 and requires him to do remediation of the site. So in speaking to Mr. Hargreaves yesterday and to the conservation agent over the last couple of days, the plan going forward is that Mr. Hargreaves will clean up the property. He will adhere to the new lines drawn up from DEP. DEP then will sign off on it. Mr. Hargreaves believes that will take 2 to 3 months. And at the conclusion of that, in DEP's sign-off, he will then be able to go forward with his business plan, which is to put a warehouse on it. Originally, it was supposed to be $50,000 square feet. I had forgotten about this during my conversations with each one of you as board members, but it had been brought to my attention. We had actually had the proposed new owner in here explaining all of this to the selectmen in late 2017. He's a West Bridgewater resident with a current business in Brockton. He, unfortunately, because of timing, has decided to go somewhere else at this point. He was looking for a 50,000 square foot building. Mr. Hargreaves now thinks that he's only going to be able to build 30,000 square feet because of the moving the wetland land. Now he's not going to be able to have as much area available to him. But he'll build the 30,000 square foot property and then, market it at that point. There is currently a dilapidated garage that is on the site. It is being used for storage, and the game plan is that once he begins building on the site, he will then remove that garage. In the meantime, he has filed lawsuits against the contractor and against the Somerset School Association because all of that concrete is from a high school building plan in Somerset. The contractor received sign-off from Somerset that there was no hazardous materials in the concrete, and Larry then had that property, the material dumped at his property because it is normal for construction waste to crush it and then to be able to reuse the product. That was his intent, and so he has activated litigation against both of those parties. We'll see where that goes. I mean, obviously, that's a private matter.
So there again is an article that doesn't tell the whole thing about what's going on there. And, I did talk to Larry like you talked to him, and he wished to talk to you. And I just think that here's a man that's now, in 1 year, has put, this is his third building, just add to the tax base on this thing. And he says, I didn't know what was in that. I says, well, you have the property. So, when people have the property, they usually end up with, being cited. But he told me where it came from, just like you said. It come from a school in Somerset, Massachusetts. And I think it was a question about a member of this board, why we didn't know about it. Well, it's almost like, the police. They investigate something that we don't know about it. This is a government agency. They just come in. Now, there had to be some kind of a complaint. The way that it got started, I don't really know what it is all about. But there's another side to this. But Larry is compliant, and he says, I asked him, well, what do you want me to tell the people? He says, just tell them. It's still under litigation. I'm still testing the material, and so it is. And one of the things I had to even discuss this, usually want all the parties there, to really discuss it in a throw. The DEP should be here, and Larry should be here to really come out. And but there we are. Here's an article that's out here with not all the facts. But I think we told the voters more what's going on than they got out of this article. If you're going to bring in an article, tell both sides.
Do we know I don't know if there's a rating or the extent of the amount or exposure of the asbestos that's there? I mean, I think you referred to it as trace amounts in the concrete.
Yep, so we have no ability to be able to test it or monitor it ourselves. We do not have anything from DEP, at least to my knowledge. We have nothing from DEP informing us as to how much there is in asbestos on the material. In speaking to Mr. Hargraves, he said there was 47 tests done and one came back with his term was traces of asbestos. The other 46 came back without it. So that's his version to me. That's all that I know for information in reference to that.
Do we normally take any sort of action when something like this happens? Whether it's contact the DEP just to have them give us some form of evaluation, because we do have residents around that area.
So DEP is the one that initiated the action. They're the ones that found or claim that there is contamination, and so they're the ones that are now monitoring the site. If they sent anything, then they sent it to the Board of Health, but I have not received anything. I put a request in through John Delano that if anything did come from the Board of Health, if I could receive a copy. I've not received a copy. I asked for that a couple of days ago. So if DEP notified us, they would have notified the Board of Health, but I don't have anything in writing.
And the conservation probably too,
Yeah, the only thing they sent to the Conservation Commission was in reference to the wetland delineation line, because the conservation wouldn't have anything to do with the asbestos. So the Conservation Commission was never notified officially about the asbestos, and in speaking directly to the agent, he said that was all a surprise to him. So right now it's in DEP's hands, and DEP will administer and monitor the cleanup, and then they will sign off at the end when they're satisfied that it meets their specifications, and then only then will Mr. Hargraves be able to move forward.
So if residents have any concerns, who should they contact? Our Board of Health or the DEP?
So they could start with our Board of Health because it's easier to contact, but if our Board of Health, they have no jurisdiction on it at this point, unless they're working in tandem with DEP, which I doubt because I think they would have notified us. So then their next contact would be really to contact DEP directly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is hard, like, to sit on this board there, and something like that comes in there, and I know how they do, because they're an entry of the government. They can come in at any time, and like we don't even know who sent them in there, and if they come in on their own. But we're supposed to know everything, but we don't know everything because we don't get all the facts. And sometimes it's really insulting to us when we don't know. And I know, Denise, exactly how you feel, because I felt that way quite a few times when we get things like that to come up before us. Yeah. because sin, and you know, I went right to him, and he explained to me. He said, no. He says, and then I can see, talked a little bit to him before the meeting, and he said, well, you know, they just come in, and it's almost like our police department investigate. They don't tell us, but then eventually we get it.
Right.
See, so you know, it's a touchy thing there, because you know, we're trying to be there and represent the people, and you know, we don't have a hidden agenda. We say it the way it is, but if we don't get the information, we can't give it to them. Okay, that's a problem, you know what I mean? So I just hope that, but in this case there, I do know Larry, and I called him. He didn't even know about this article. He says, when did that come in? And I told him it's in the paper. He says, I better get a copy of the paper, you know. So he said there, and then further up, and I told him, would you please get a hold of Dave, and Dave made a call to him, and sort of try to get the continuity going there and see what was really going on there. I don't know, Denise, if you have any other questions about it, but like I said,
It was more concerns the residents that live around there. You hear asbestos contamination and
Yeah,
immediately
right.
sets off some alarms. So without knowing the extent of it,
yeah, I know.
you know,
It's
it's
sad.
a little unnerving, but I think the more of this information that filters down to people, they'll feel a little more comfortable about it, and being able to know who to contact, who to ask the questions to is helpful.
And thank you, Dave, for
Yeah, thanks.
doing what you looked into it there, because you did a good job, and I think it was handled properly.
No, thank you. Last on the agenda is I spent most of the day today in Framingham. As you know, the board authorized us to become party to a nationwide lawsuit against the opiate manufacturers and distributors. It was a closed meeting, meaning that it was all the plaintiffs that are in the room with our respective attorneys. The attorneys representing us are based out of Florida. Our local firm is KP Law out of Boston. Obviously, they were all represented. They disclosed to all of us the amount of work that they've been doing since we authorized this close to a year ago. They've gone through 22,000 documents that they were able to get through the discovery process. They had video of depositions that they have done with key people at the manufacturers, the distributors, and with DEA. It's pretty impressive the amount of work that they've done. It's impressive the information that they've been able to turn up, which at this point still has to remain private. And so they are certainly going forward with the lawsuit. This Tuesday, what they have done is they have petitioned the judge, which is a federal judge in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm so sorry about that. They have petitioned the judge in Cleveland, Ohio, who is overseeing the national lawsuit, to be able to aggregate all of us into what we will now call a class action lawsuit. Before, it was referred to as a multi-district litigation, which means that we were all party to it, but we would all make individual decisions. At this point here, we would be one aggregate in front of the judge. The selectmen are going to have to approve that, if that's what we want to do. I had town council with me, so that way they could review all the documents as well. And if the judge approves the request on Tuesday, then a contract will come before the board. We will have 60 days in order to be able to authorize it. If you don't want to be a party, you don't, but then we'd have to either sue on our own or leave. They're talking settlements of very large numbers, and I expect that it would be very large numbers. And so, anyway, I just wanted to give the board an update that we're still looking at this. They still ask for information. I still pass it along. And if it's successful, which I have to believe it will be, I think the town of West Bridgewater will then profit from that at that point. Although I will tell you, we know of some local cases where this has affected families, and so I think it's important for us to stay the course and look for the punitive damages that this lawsuit is seeking.
And you all have a copy of Warren's report there? Did you get a copy?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody knows there.
David, this is multi-district Massachusetts. It's also happening in other states. So are you saying that this class action suit, are all the states joining together, or is this just Massachusetts right now.
Nope, this is nationwide.
Okay.
However, that's a key distinction, is that one of the troubling aspects of the conversation today is that this firm is representing 624 municipalities throughout the entire country and counties. That's all positive. We're certainly one of those 624. The concern is that it appears that these large companies, again, it's Johnson & Johnson, Purdue, CVS, Walgreens, they're looking to settle. The problem is that the states have been joining at the Attorney General's level, looking for money for the states. And so we are looking for money at the local level, because quite frankly, the impacts are much more at a local level than they are at a state level. You know, state police, for the most part, are not going into an area with Narcan like our police and our fire departments are doing. So the impact is much more local. The Attorney General's office, for the most part, is just looking for money. We're certainly looking for money as well. There's no doubt about that. But at this point, what the manufacturers and distributors are saying is they will not settle with the AG states until they have a settlement with us and vice versa, because they don't want to reach into a settlement and then still have exposure. So that's the part that is still being worked out, because we are not going to get to a global resolution until all the Attorney General's offices, which there's 40 at this point, and all the municipalities that are suing come to one joint venture. And that is part of what the motion is on Tuesday.
Any other questions on that?
Nope.
Anything else, David?
No, I'm good.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you, everybody. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Give you an example.